Have you ever heard a child say with absolute certainty, "I don't want to see my dad," or "I never want to talk to my mom again"? It sounds so final, so decided. And as adults, we often mistake that certainty for maturity. We think, wow, they've really thought this through. They know what they want. But what if that certainty isn't the truth? What if it's actually armor? Today, we're diving deep into a really tough topic. Why children in high conflict separations sometimes sound so sure when they reject one parent. It's a phenomenon that can confuse everyone involved: parents, family members, even therapists and legal professionals. The common assumption is that if a child sounds confident, their decision must be genuine. But in many of these situations, that calm conviction is hiding a storm of fear, pressure, and emotional turmoil. Let's start by understanding why this certainty is so convincing. When a child looks you in the eye and calmly states their preference, it seems rational. It feels like they've weighed the options and made a choice. We value clarity, and we tend to interpret confidence as a sign of it. So when a child presents a clear-cut story, "This parent is good, this parent is bad," it's tempting to take it at face value. It simplifies a messy, painful situation. But the truth is, a child's emotional world is rarely that simple, especially when their family is breaking apart. So, where does this false certainty come from? One of the biggest reasons is emotional protection. Imagine being a child caught in the middle of two warring parents. The emotional tension is constant. Feeling uncertain or having mixed feelings in that environment can feel incredibly dangerous. Doubt creates anxiety. So, to cope, the child latches onto a simple, black and white narrative. By deciding, "I'm with this parent and against that one," they create a sense of control in a world that feels completely out of control. This certainty acts like a shield. It doesn't mean they've resolved their feelings. It just makes the overwhelming anxiety a little easier to manage. Another powerful factor is pressure, both spoken and unspoken. Children are incredibly perceptive. They quickly learn which emotions are safe to express around each parent. If showing affection for the rejected parent leads to the other parent getting sad, angry, or distant, the child learns to suppress those feelings. Expressing love for both parents might trigger guilt, shame, or the terrifying fear of upsetting the parent they rely on every day. So to keep the peace and maintain their own sense of security, they simplify their emotional world into a clear, acceptable position. They say what they know is expected of them, even if it contradicts how they truly feel inside. This leads us to the loyalty trap. In high conflict situations, children often feel like they're being forced to choose a side just to survive emotionally. Loving both parents can feel like an act of betrayal. This creates an impossible internal conflict. To reduce this psychological pain, the child unconsciously picks a team. They align with one parent, and to make that alignment feel real and justified, they have to bury all their positive feelings for the other parent. This is what creates that false clarity we see on the outside. Strong, certain words masking a deep, painful conflict on the inside. So why do we, as adults, so often misinterpret this? Because calm rejection looks like all the things we associate with a healthy decision. It looks like maturity, insight, and a lack of distress. We see a child who isn't crying or overtly upset, and we think, okay, they're fine. They've made their choice and they're at peace with it. But what's really happening is that the child is actively suppressing their distress to maintain emotional safety. The absence of visible turmoil doesn't mean the turmoil isn't there. It often means the child has become an expert at hiding it. And this is the crucial point. The complex feelings don't just disappear, they go underground. Inside a child who is confidently rejecting a parent, you will often find a hidden world of conflicting emotions. There's grief for the parent they've lost, even if they're the one pushing them away. There's guilt over the rejection, a deep-seated feeling that what they're doing is wrong. There's a longing for connection and a return to how things used to be. And underneath it all, there's immense confusion about loyalty and love. This combination of outward certainty and inward chaos is a classic survival pattern for children in these impossible situations. The long-term impact of growing up with this kind of emotional splitting can be significant. It can lead to a tendency to see the world in black and white, especially in relationships. If you learn as a child that love is conditional and loyalty requires you to cut off parts of yourself, it can be very difficult to trust your own feelings as an adult. It can manifest as anxiety, depression, or a sense of unresolved grief that suddenly surfaces in adulthood. It's no surprise that many young adults who were alienated as children actively seek out the rejected parent once they are free from the loyalty pressures of their childhood home. They finally have the space to explore the feelings they were forced to bury for so long. So, what do these children actually need? They don't need adults to accept their simple, certain answers at face value. They need us to be curious and to create a safe space for their real, complicated feelings. They need to be able to explore their ambivalence without fear of punishment or disapproval. They need to know it's okay to love both of their parents, even if their parents don't love each other. They need permission to be confused, to be sad, to be angry, and to ask questions. Supporting a child's mixed feelings is infinitely healthier than rewarding a false sense of certainty. The big takeaway here is this: when a child in a high-conflict separation sounds completely certain about rejecting a parent, it should be a red flag. It's not a signal that the problem is solved. More often than not, it's a clue that the real conflict, the fear, and the pain are still very much active, just hidden beneath the surface. That certainty is a call for us to look deeper, to ask better questions, and to help the child navigate the emotional maze they're trapped in, rather than simply accepting their well-rehearsed and self-protective script. Thank you so much for watching and for engaging with this difficult but important topic. If this resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content that dives into the complexities of family dynamics. Your support helps us continue these conversations. See you next time.